Welcome to Behind Enemy Lines. Today we got Mickey Scaravacchio sitting in for Terry Newsom. How you doing this evening, Mickey?
I'm doing all right. For a guy from Ohio, you did the last name pretty good. It's Scornavaco.
Scaravacchio. Sorry, it's been a very long day over here, but we got a wonderful guest tonight, candidate for governor in Illinois, and God knows you guys need somebody to set that state on a much better path than it's been on for the last, I don't know, how many years now?
God, this will be 8.
Well, we go ahead and introduce Sheriff Mendrick to our audience here, and then we'll get started.
Hi, how are you today?
Oh,
Sheriff, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Well, if you could kind of give our audience a little bit of background on, what you've done in law enforcement, and then why you're running for governor there in Illinois.
Sure, I appreciate it. So my name is James Mendrick. I'm the current DuPage County Sheriff. We are the second biggest county in the state. We have just under 1 million people population, 336 square miles. That's much smaller than Texas by your description of Texas. But I've been the sheriff for about 7 years. I came in with J.B. Pritzker, so I've had to share his pain from the very beginning of my elections. I've been a cop since 1996.
Wow.
I did every job at the sheriff's office. I've been supported by my own office. That's how I got elected as sheriff. This last election cycle, even in a blue, now I hate to say it, blue DuPage, I ran unopposed, and I got about 60,000 more votes than the highest Democrat vote getter during the blue wave. So the reason I think that I get a lot of Democrat support is simply because I have one duty that I do that is very nonpartisan, but it just attracts both parties in a big way. And that's rehabilitation in a correctional facility. We have the only jail in DuPage County. We about 80% of the people who come in are on substance. Heroin, fentanyl, alcohol, combination thereof. Half of those people are self-medicating for mental health issues. They don't have access to insurance, so their drugstore is going to be street drugs because there's still opioids. I hate to say it, big secret. Big pharma and what you get on the streets have a lot of common elements in them. So they're self-medicating and trying to figure out their own mental health issues because, again, they don't have insurance. So what we do is we do a full drug detoxification program, including medicated assistant treatment, Suboxone, methadone, whatever works. We have a large enough myriad that we can fingerprint it to a personality type. We also do one-on-one psychiatric service every single day. And even with good insurance, you show me any other facility in the world that you can get every day, daily, one-on-one psychiatric care. Then we have what we call Just of DuPage. We have 200 counselors, educators, teachers, teaching about 80 courses per week. It's anger management, criminal thinking. GEDs, our school systems have failed us, right? So probably half the people like that, they can't read or write. They don't have a GED. So we're doing hundreds of GEDs. Oh, by the way, we're doing all this because we are a satellite of College of DuPage. College of DuPage is just a great institution for us. We signed a memorandum of understanding with them. It opened up, I think, with 7 federal grants. So all this is paid for through these federal grants to do this work in our correctional facilities. So they give us the equipment, the instructors, their cap and gown graduations, all that kind of stuff. They teach a course in Glen Ellen at College of DuPage, and then 30 minutes later, they'll drive over to Wheaton and do the exact same course for my incarcerated. The only difference is our average test score is like 97%. I'm cranking out better people for jobs in college. So we backwards engineered. We did a unique thing in our jail over the last 7 years that I've been sheriff. I started this on the first day. This was what I campaigned on before I was sheriff. I interviewed all the inmates, found out, why are you here? And we find out that they're being introduced to sex at ungodly young ages, 6 years old, 7 years old, introduced to opioids or fentanyl, heroin, other drugs at 10 or 11 years old. So then it's like they use them for crime. A lot of times they're authority figures. Hey, shorty, go get me that car. You can't get in trouble. And they go through life. I'm not making excuses for crime, but what I'm saying is that some people have had no opportunity whatsoever in their life. And there was only one real outcome that was destined for them because of their situation. So
essentially it's a pipeline.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely it is. And we do gang tattoo removal in this process. That was so popular that people wanted to get the gang tats off that we ended up breeding that out into, like, for human trafficking branding, we take that off or cover it up. Cut marks, injection ports, bullet holes. You'd be surprised how many people have shot and lived. Do you know they keep saying that murders are down, and they're right. Over the last 15 years, they've come down by like 30%. You want to know why? Medical
Oh yeah.
technology.
Oh yeah.
It's medicine. It's not that there's less shootings. It's just that they can save somebody with 8 bullet holes in them now. And Narcan, instead of a drug-induced homicide, we're shoving a nasal spray in their nose and resurrecting them. I've seen that 3 times, by the way. It's amazing, but you can tell just from street crimes, and that's why Chicago's got real bad street crimes. They need an emergency manager out there. So what we're noticing is that with the Biden open borders, there was so much fentanyl coming in. Drug dealers used to do stuff called like stepping on a drug, like they dilute it, right? They make more money, but it would be weaker, so it wouldn't OD you. So now fentanyl's so cheap, for $12 a day you can get high, and you're getting the pure stuff. So when we stick that nose spray in, man, I've seen it have three of them sometimes, and that's because the concentration of fentanyl isn't cut. It's not cut with a cutting agent. It's pure,
Correct.
100% pure. So that's what's in the bloodstream, and now you need triple. That's why I keep saying I want somebody to invent a triple strength Narcan, because that's what you need when they're taking a lot of the pure stuff. So we went through all that, and then after all this counseling, once we do the detox, once we do the mental health work, we do vocationals. So we started with sanitation, and I'll be honest with you, I do a lot of this because I'm a religious man. I believe in God. I believe this is God's work, and this is just a sign of God to me. We started our sanitation training programs at COD 3 months before COVID. We're the only jail that didn't get COVID. I didn't have outbreaks. I didn't have dying deputies, dying inmates. Didn't have it. I mean, we did use some science, but we did simple science, not the fake stuff that we were using. We did, hey, let's make everything clean. Let's back up our HVAC, externally vent air. I had 17 negative pressure cells, externally vent the air, and I had an incubation for it. If you come in and you're new, 15 days in a vacant floor before you touch general pop, incubate them out after the 14-day period. And we just didn't get it. And that's all we had to do to avoid COVID that everybody else was going crazy about. But where this ends up is in the vocations, because now we do, we branched out from sanitation. We've done tiling, drywalling, welding. Now we're doing virtual reality welding, small engine repair, indoor hydroponics, outdoor horticulture, creating about 10,000 pounds of produce for our local food pantries every year. For every $1, and this is where it's going to be something statewide. For every $1 we spend on rehabilitation, you're saving 19 in housing people like a warehouse. It's expensive to house somebody. You're paying for their medical, their dental. Look at the illegals. So do this comparison for me, because it's the same problem. If you look at anything, what's a corporation's problem? Headcount. That's about 75 to 80% of your budget is your people. If you look at housing people in a jail, that is extremely expensive, to where I can save tens of millions of dollars if we went statewide. With the rehabilitation, then you'd save all that money in incarceration fees. But now take a sanctuary state. So in incarceration, the food's bought in bulk, so it's cheaper. The cells obviously are mass housing, so it's nowhere near the cost of public housing. And healthcare is very, very expensive for us. That's one of the most expensive things in the jail. But now with the sanctuary state policies, you're doing the exact same thing, but you're giving them credit cards for food to go buy at the grocery store or at nice restaurants. You're housing our hotel rooms, which are very, very expensive. So they're doing the same thing that I'm doing in my jail that I realize costs all the taxpayer money, but they're doing it on a much larger scale. In fact, Pritzker and Johnson are summoning people in worldwide, saying, please come here because we want you here, because we need to have the stage to claim that Donald Trump's raiding Illinois. But real quick, just to end this segment about the jail, by doing all this work, our recidivism rates went from 75 to 15%, and our heroin rates went from 90 to 20%. So it's working. We're changing our walking crime waves, our criminal population, into tax-paying citizens that are making 40, 50 grand a year 2 weeks after they're out of jail. So I have hundreds of correspondences from either parents or the people who are incarcerated themselves saying, I'd be dead of an overdose if I wasn't in your jail. So again, this is what I consider to be God's work.
Well, yeah, and you're addressing the problem from the root, and that's what a lot of law enforcement, unfortunately, is failing to do. Here where I'm at in Ohio, I know we had a lot of this stuff just spike through the roof in a county directly south of me, actually in Middletown, where Vice President J.D. Vance is from, and then just north in Lima. Lima, for a while, which is a small town, had the highest rate for opioids in the country per capita. And then part of the problem here has been, again, they don't address the problem. Instead, they address it once people are already overdosing or there's other issues. Whereas you're trying to get a program, in effect, to break that chain or break that pipeline, whatever you want to call it, get them off the drugs, give them hope for a future, remove the evidence of being in a gang so they can actually start a fresh life and turn into a productive citizen rather than somebody that's chemically dependent and then out there committing additional crimes because of that, putting other people's safety in jeopardy.
Exactly. And, I can't even calculate the cost of, taking a person who would have been a career criminal and now they're welding every day or they're making engines. A lot of what we did too, by doing the indoor hydroponics, outdoor horticulture, and then the small engine repair, we combine those because that's a triple certification. Now you can work on a farm. The people who are incarcerated love that solitary work. We found that farming is not only lucrative, but it's very therapeutic. It's a very rewarding job. Teaches you to make your own food source also. So there's, it's a win-win-win. They pulled my jail methodologies 2 elections ago, 6 years ago, and it was the only thing that polled 96% Republican, 96% Independent, 96% Democrat approval. Because I think it's probably the first thing I found that people can't argue about. There's no downside to making your criminal population taxpayers.
Yeah.
So, Sheriff Mendrick, if I can.
Yeah, please.
Hey, so I want to talk about something that's really hitting home up here in Lake County, and I don't know if you're familiar with the Megan Bowles issue.
Oh, yeah.
The Safety Act. What are your plans when you're governor? What are you going to do about that?
So, okay, you've got my other big thing. So you have to understand, you have the sanctuary state, and then you have the Safety Act. These two things exacerbate one another. So I tried because, okay, you know how I was telling you about all the rehabilitation and this and that and the other. So since the Safety Act has come out, you know what we used to call burglars that came into my facility? We used to call them low-hanging fruit. They're usually substance-driven. On their first offense, we could have them cleaned up and never commit crime again after an 8-month stay in my jail. And that was that. Now we catch them and we, again, remember, 80% on substance, right? So I hold them about 2 hours while we process them and let them go while they're tweaking, while they're jonesing, while they're detoxing, right? So what kind of decisions are they going to make when they get out in that condition? They're going to do whatever they can to get more dope. And then they're going to get in trouble again. And then before they see a judge, because now we have to send, I think, 2 summons as part of that, and then an appear to notice in court. So my population in my jail is as high as it ever was because of failure to appear warrants. When people say they live in tents or we're sending summons, we don't know where to send this stuff to. Nobody does. So my jail population is high there. But by denying them the rehabilitation services because of the Safety Act, making me let them go, I have no opportunity to do this with the less violent offenders. So they're walking free. They're doing 3 more of them. They're getting a 20-year sentence at IDOC by the time they see a judge. And the Safety Act we've learned it promulgates not only incarceration through failure to appears, but long-term incarceration by not letting them have any kind of respite in between offenses. So it has failed in every way. It has cost me so many deputies. If Chicago didn't start firing cops for not being on a vaccination list, I'd probably be 70 cops down. But when they were doing that, I was hiring them all to keep my head down. But I'm still 40 cops down. So the Safety Act has, okay, I hate to ask this question, but to people, I know it seems abstract, but it's part of our job. I always ask people, have you ever been punched in the face before? Because it's not pleasant. It's not pleasant. When you get struck, there's a loud ringing, there's a tunnel vision. Everything is very surreal. I've been martial arts my whole life, so I know this. But what I'm trying to explain is that when that happens, you're fighting for your life. So say a cop gets punched in the face, has that experience, has to use their weapon. There's something in the Safety Act that says he or she is not even allowed to review the videotape before writing the report, because they want you to put some kind of words down on paper that will contradict your body cam, because the body cam can be mandatory too. So do you know how chilling that is for a profession? Do you know how chilling it is? They tried to take qualified immunity out the first round of the Safety Act. And what qualified immunity is basically a Good Samaritan Act for cops. Basically, I'm a cop. Again, I was a patrolman since 1996, so I know how the whole public safety thing goes. You go to a door, check a well-being, you see somebody slumped down, you kick their door in, and you go in, you do compressions, crack a couple ribs, you save their life. Now you'd be suable for the cracked ribs and the door if we didn't have qualified immunity. Qualified immunity doesn't give us any immunity from any wrongdoing. It's immunity if you follow every rule, regulation, law, and procedure the way you were supposed to. Then you're granted immunity because it's the policies that you were following that cause whatever harm somebody will claim. But the Safety Act basically is an excuse. Now, you mentioned Megan, and Jose Luis Mendoza Gonzalez is a certain type of evil. I mean, this guy, in Illinois, mind you, kept a body for 51 days, decimated it, and was let go. I mean, how does that happen? How does it happen in a civilized society that we're going to let that type of offense? Well, you know, she had to have a meeting with Donald Trump, and which I got to say, it's why one of the reasons I really support Donald Trump. He says, "See what happens," is what he said to her, and then the feds came and they took him on the federal charges, which that should have happened a long time ago, because how many other people is he going to do this to or do something like this to while he remains free because of some safety act? It's not, it's the unsafety act. Just like Sanctuary City, they name it sanctuary because sanctuary is it's an adjective, right? It's a positive word. Safety, sanctuary, safety and sanctuary. They're both horrible. I mean, but the media controls so much. You know, I would love to see laws written that would hold the media responsible for bad reporting causing problems in society, whether demonstrations, whether they're murders and murder attempts. The media needs to start being held responsible. There has to be some kind of mechanism built to make them liable for what they do. At least, at the very minimum, make them tell the truth.
That would be great. One other thing that's really, really important to my folks up here in Lake County, and I know I followed you early on when this one came out, was the new assault weapon restrictions and another thing that our friend Pritzker put in place. And I know you stood up against that right away. You pushed really hard, and I appreciate that. What are your plans if you get elected governor? What are you going to do to get rid of that?
Okay, so here's the thing. You know, again, I've got to I don't listen to studies from college kids in Purdue that tell us how public safety should be run, because that seems to be what drives a lot of people, these college studies or whatever. And that's great. I mean, sure, there's some value to some of them. But again, we talk to our inmates, right? I've personally interviewed probably at least 1,500 inmates over 7 years. I mean, that's just me. My staff that Justice DuPage, they're tens of thousands. We ask questions. Why are you here? You know, that makes us able to discover a curriculum. You know, what's up with all the guns? Just like I know that all the Chicago guns, and here's why I feel the way I do about, you know, for one thing, 13 years we have had the highest murder capital in Chicago of any nation. 13 years. Do you expect your 14 or 15 to be different with the same laws? I mean, that's a definition of insanity. You're going to repeat something 13 cycles and hope that cycle 14 or 15 bears some differential. It's not going to, because here's what the people in the jail say, okay? They're not animals in the jail, right? I will actually say 30% are hardcore, 70% of the people in my jail are actually good people who've made a mistake. So when they're in these programs, they talk to us. And here's what they say. They know the gun laws. Again, they're not dumb. They know that most people aren't going to be armed because of the strict gun laws. And they want to just stick a gun in your face, take your wallet, whatever you got on in your car maybe, And they know if they get caught, even the Safety Act is going to bail them out. And they probably won't get caught because these things happen in like 30 seconds. So what they don't want is to shoot somebody. They really don't. So only 4% of the gangbangers in Chicago ever pull the trigger. Because once you pull the trigger and shoot somebody, now the manhunt's on. Now you finally did something bad enough that the Safety Act will put you in jail for. So
Yeah,
we
you're not
hunt
going
you
to get
down
no.
to the ends of the earth and we arrest you. So gangbangers, when they get crept up on, as they call it, they display. They raise up, show the butt of another gun, and then they disengage. That's how most of the engagements don't happen. If a citizen does the same thing, they're going to disengage most likely. Because, again, they're not looking to kill a citizen and being hunted down and their life is done that day. Because that's what will happen if you do that, especially in DuPage. I don't know about Chicago, but they know that we're cheap. You know what they call those stickers? What they say when the stickers are on the door with the gun and the slash room? They say that's where I can go when I'm in charge.
Well,
They understand the fact of supremacy by force, that you're going to have to just give up what you have because you're likely not to be armed. I think we need to promote concealed carry. I mean, I was disappointed to see that the FOID got put into Constitution. I never thought they'd put off. That's going to complicate things, that's for sure. But I think what we need to do is focus on, again, the inmates told me that all the guns that are coming into the city, the ones that we should be worrying about, are from Indiana gun shops. So if we know that, and felons can get same-day gun delivery from a gun shop in Indiana, why aren't we working with the feds to do stings since it crosses state lines? There's some reason they're ignoring this. I mean, it's so obvious.
It's probably like organized straw purchase, which, to your point, is still something the feds would need to get involved in.
Right.
But yeah, they're probably going to, Gary, Indiana, a place like that just over the border. They get somebody that gets a federal firearms license that has some sort of affiliation with the gang, or they twist somebody's arm into it. And then it's just a whole bunch of gun sales. So they're making money there. But yeah, if the feds get involved in all these straw purchases, it's easy to put a stop to it. But until they'll do that, nothing's going to change. And then, in Chicago, you guys got to worry about switches and all that other stuff too, which same thing. There's easy ways to track those down. Most of them are getting sent from Temu and other places in China. And then they're just knocking out the back plate on their Glock, dropping those on, and now they've got a machine gun.
Yes.
Sheriff Mendrick, you mentioned DuPage County. I think it's the largest county, one of the largest counties in Illinois.
It's the second largest, just next to our neighbor Cook.
How big is your budget with the sheriff's department, the jail, the road deputies, and everything?
Thank you for asking that. So many people think that sheriffs are just some police administrator. No, I run a business that's like Microsoft. I've got a $70 million budget that I've run personally for 12 years. I have 504 employees. I have 300 contractors. I do contract negotiations. I've been involved in every aspect of finances within our county. And $70 million is a lot of money, but for 12 years, I've never gone a dollar over my budget. We've always stayed within budget. I have what we call a zero balance budget. If I have a box of paper clips, well, that's on there somewhere. It says paper clips, $2.50, and it's on my budget. It's like a checkbook. You can't overdraw something if you stop spending before you reach that threshold. So I don't know how you go $1.6 billion over for illegal alien healthcare. I don't know how you can be an additional $3 billion over for the whole package. I don't know how you could be asking for another $540 billion. No, I think it's $540 million more this year he'll need for the illegals. And then he wants $44 million next year for another welcoming station. So, I mean, that's telling us this behavior is going to continue to occur. So we also, while we're violating federal law, which is the sanctuary state, which that one, that could be changed in one day. All you have to do is have a government that's going to comply with federal law, and that's over. You call the president and say, we're now going to comply with federal law. You'll get your grants back. It would be so simple. But when you violate federal law, you can't have federal grants. That's another $2 billion we're going to lose in federal funding. I mean, that's bad. So now you're up to a $7 billion a year problem. Like I told you, the most expensive thing you can do is have to care for a person, their needs, house them. Let's put it this way. You take a city, say Springfield, Chicago, a lot of the towns and counties in between them, those are fairly impoverished. So you take a fairly impoverished community and you summon an entire another society from all these different places around the world. And then when they get here, you overlay those societies on top of your existing impoverished society and say, compete. Compete for what's there, because they didn't add benefits, they didn't add resources. They're taking our tax money to pay for all this, and they're running everything into the ground. Now, do you know what business they're in now to recover all of these debts and overages? They're now in the real estate business. So if a road widens, you're going to see eminent domain. They're going to get some of your property there. They'll snatch it up, whether it's a business, a residence, whatever, as much as they can through eminent domain. Fall behind on your taxes, they're dragging into probate. And they got lawyers that can go all day for 10 years. And whether it takes 6 months or 10 years, as soon as your lawyer says give, that house is gone. They have a regressive estate tax for the farmers, because down south and west, they want a piece of the farms. So every time you pass your farm on to the next of kin, the government now gets a bit part of your generational wealth.
Yeah, giant paycheck.
Right. Now, why do they do this? Well, could it be that Pritzker made a policy that he can lease government land to people for 1 to 3 years, and that after the end of the lease, that the government gets that land back and can release it? I mean, it's socialism with land.
Well, yeah, and a lot of
Sure,
this, here in Ohio, we deal with this a lot. That generational farms, like you're talking about. Once they assess the value of the land, there's no way they can pay the taxes on it. It's been in their family for 8 generations. They've got 300 acres. They've been growing corn, and then the government all of a sudden wants $3 million in taxes because you're passing it on to the next generation. But that leasing it back is even more insidious, because then they can come in and give them out. We can reduce this tax down to something more affordable, but we're going to take control of that land. We're going to give you a good price for these first 3 years on this lease, so you guys can continue farming. But what we're not going to tell you now is when it comes back in 3 years, suddenly the rent that we're charging you for what was your land is going to go up tenfold, and then you're not going to be able to pay it, and then a factory farm can come in and steal it out from under you. Sorry, Mickey, I cut you off.
No, that's okay. I'm used to it. So, Sheriff, I have a question. There's not a lot of serious candidates that we've seen so far come out for governor. You're probably realistically the only one I've met. And what do you say to people that have kind of given up in Illinois? What do you have to say to them? I know a lot of my people in the grassroots end, they've given up. They said, it's a lost cause. What do you say?
So, it's another great question. I was going to leave this state. That's why I'm doing this. I was getting to be like everybody else, starting to look at properties in Alabama, until my 25-year-old son said, well, I'm going to stay behind, and I don't want to leave him. So it gave me a passion to where it's like, you know what? I've dealt with Pritzker being his next door neighbor for the last 7 years. He's been a real pain with masks and restaurants and 2A and safety acts and sanctuary states, and the list goes on.
Yeah.
But you know what I actually realized more than anything, because obviously he's a bazillionaire, right? And I don't have billions of dollars. I'm never going to have billions of dollars. I've got some donors that are starting to line up that are a lot bigger than I thought, that are going to come down the road here soon, but never to the scope of billions. I'll never have $1 billion. But you know what can negate billions of dollars? People. I never realized. So I have been into and have a lot of support now in 42 counties. It took me 4 months. I've been going to about 35 to 40 events per month. That's harrowing, because I have a full-time job too. I'm going to my job every day and then going out at night and then going out at all on weekends. When I go out on weekends, there's one coming up that I got on Facebook. You can find that I'll be doing 4 events in one day, so I don't have to make 4 3.5-hour trips back and forth. I can just do 4 events in one trip. So, but I'm willing to do that because here it is. And this is why I believe I was unopposed, why I had 60,000 more votes than the highest Democrat in the second largest state last time. Because my perspective is I'm out shopping for people I want to work for. You don't work for me. I work for you. That's what I always say with the sheriff. I don't have a boss. You know who my boss is? Talking to them right now. It's the people. You have to represent the people. And I've noticed if you go out and touch as many people, I'm going to get to all 102 counties. There's 102 in the state, and I've been to 42. I've been in the city. Now I see why, and this gives me an advantage, I will admit. I keep running into people who are in my jail in the city. So they made me last year the Black Chamber Caucus Juneteenth Man of the Year in Chicago, and I'm a white policeman.
Yeah.
So to get that kind of recognition, because they understand for their community, I'm doing everything that the Dems have promised and never delivered, which I think is the bulk of the anger. In the city, I'm seeing a lot of the black population going Trump. I mean, I think they realize that the Republicans have been courting them for a long time. Come on over, the water's warm. We'll treat you better than they ever will, because they've been forgotten as soon as they started pumping in illegal aliens. That's who the Democrats are going to support. And do you know why? It's census. The illegal aliens get counted in the census, and your congressional seats will disappear if your census numbers drop. So to keep their seats, they have to keep the census up. Now, here's a fun stat. Do you know that for every kid that goes to college in our state, every one, 70% that leave this state to go to college never return? So that's your 18 to 24s droving out. That's all your talent. Your people are going to have jobs. They're replacing them with the illegal immigrants.
Sorry, I had cut out for a minute. Sheriff, one last question, and something that I kind of want to know is, what kind of future do you want to bring back to this state if you get elected? What's your plan?
So, you know what? With everything going on, I truly believe that Illinois is in need of emergency management at this time. It's not safe. It's not secure. Look, I know budget. Like I said, I've done a $70 million budget for 12 years. They overcomplicate what the budget is. The budget needs a complete forensics audit. I will tell you that, because being a policeman and looking into a lot of what I've looked at, I believe there's a whole bunch of illegal activity going on with a lot of the money manipulations, the non-government organizations thing with the special interests. There's $1 billion there that needs to be audited and looked at. $1 billion for a non-governmental organization can't be FOIA'd or audited. So it's untraceable, untrackable, $1 billion of our money. Between that and the sanctuary state, you're looking at a $9 billion hole that could be fixed in a pen stroke. I believe that we can have a safe state again, but we have to support our police. We have to amend the Safety Act. I think, even if we don't do cash bail, we have to make crime categories on their face value detainable. Certain crime and multiple misdemeanor crime categories have to be detainable just on their face value. That has to happen. The sanctuary state has to go away completely. There's no sanctuary in a sanctuary state. Before the sanctuary state, all we did was when we brought somebody in and they had battered somebody, we would notify ICE. They would get the consulate, the magistrate, fancy word for an immigration judge. They would talk it out, see if he was running from he or she was running from something in their home country, or if today's offense was extreme enough to be deported. And that was a little mini court, mini thing that kept everybody safe. Tom Homan is so right in saying he is not wanting to do these raids. He's being forced into the raids because he should have access to our jails to get people without. And, I wish you would explain collateral damage a little better, because he's so right on that. But let me tell you what collateral damage really is. I'm a cop. It really is. If I do a DUI and let you go and you crash into somebody, if I go to a domestic and somebody has a bloody nose and I let you go and the other one kills the other one when I leave, I'm done. Those are things that would get me into huge trouble. So now take somebody who swears their oath, the whole deal. I'm an immigration officer now. That's my job. Now, if you go to find the rapist, you have to go to a house, a workplace, whatever, and you find this rapist, and then you find 3 people are here illegally but have not committed a crime. If they let them go, it's the same thing for me and my DUI and my domestic. If those 3 people now commit some other crime, those guys are on the hook for it because they didn't enforce the job that they were sworn to enforce. They let them go. And as much as we would like to let offenders go, there is a certain liability with all of that. So they're going to force that collateral damage because they have no choice. It's not that they even want to take those people into jail. It's that they just know they're on the hook if they don't. So they put them purposely forcing them to do these raids so they can cry, oh, look at Donald Trump attacking my state. I'll defend you. I'm the governor. I'm the mayor. And we're fighting for the people. No, they're not fighting for the people. They're creating all of this by not having adherence to federal law.
Well, yeah, and in the end, they're really making everyone less safe too, because now instead of being able to pick people up at the jail or at the courthouse or wherever after they've already offended and committed additional violent crimes, now you're forcing them to go through a neighborhood where, like you said, you're also putting everyone else at risk. I mean, eventually, we're lucky this hasn't happened yet, but eventually we are going to have a shooting at one of these raids that you're gonna have a bunch of dope boy MS-13 or Trendelaga or whoever else, and they're gonna decide that this is their last stand, and they're gonna shoot it out instead of going in peacefully. I mean, it's going to happen eventually. We're really lucky it hasn't happened yet, and there's going to be, especially in a dense urban area like Chicago, there's bound to be collateral damage if something like that happens. Everybody's seen these videos of shootouts down in Mexico, especially just over the border there, where, it's a military gunfight. Yeah, this isn't like a typical, even a SWAT team arrest. These guys are not afraid to die, and they're not afraid to put a large amount of rounds down range if they think it's going to increase their chances of getting away. So I think we are, we're going to have one of these incidents at some point, but yeah, not cooperating with the federal officials is only going to make that more imminent and more likely to happen. And it's going to happen in a dense populated area like Chicago or LA or one of these cities in Colorado that's remaining still a sanctuary city, or wherever else. Yeah, you're just increasing risk to the general population. You're protecting criminals, and I think that's what a lot of Americans are really sick of now. Even though there are some out there, harassing the ICE agents and everything else, think they're protecting people. But I have a video, actually, Terry. I was supposed to play this at the intro, but we had some technical issues with the formatting, so I had to clean it up. So Terry asked me to go ahead and run this real fast, and we wanted to get your response before we run out of time here, Sheriff.
Sure.
Well, good evening, folks. Thanks for coming back to Behind Enemy Lines. Right now, this is recording. I'm sitting in Florida. So I want to thank Mickey Scarnavacchio for sitting in for me to co-host with Mike Lauber. And I just wanted to do this video introduction before the show tonight because I know it's going to be a little controversial. For those of you from Illinois, you probably saw a little political battle that I had with Sheriff Mendrick a couple years ago. And it was pretty visible on social media. And that's behind us. I know everyone has political debates and fights and so forth, and some of it gets sometimes a little crazy. But the reason we're having Sheriff Mendrick on the show tonight is we want to have him get the opportunity to speak to our audience as to why he thinks he's the best person to be governor. I also want you to know that why I did a 180 on Sheriff Mendrick, who, by the way, I'm not endorsing him. Never said I was going to endorse him. I'm not endorsing anybody else. I never said I was endorsing anybody else. Just to be very clear, right? This is not an endorsement of Sheriff Mendrick, but it's not saying that I might not endorse him at the right time. I'm just waiting back to see, what happens. Right now, he's the only gubernatorial candidate. We have a fake one that's pretending, I guess. I don't even know if the guy's registered. So anyway, never discussed endorsement, never discussed a pardon for my background, by the way. How did Sheriff Mendrick and I start talking after our big political disagreement? So for those of you who saw, there was a guy named Dave Anzelek and other Antifa folks that were coming after me and some of the other folks from Will County and posting my address publicly, putting my family, my children at risk. I was getting phone calls and all kinds of crazy stuff. And so I reached out to one of Sheriff Mendrick's friends and asked, I'd like to get some help to get to the bottom of this. And I want to make sure, my family's safe. And so if they could give a message to Sheriff Mendrick, because I know there was an investigation against Dave Anzelek out of Will County, and I wanted to, see if we can get something collaborating with DuPage County. And surprise to me, Sheriff Mendrick called me 10 minutes later. I was surprised because it was a pretty brutal back and forth between me and him. And what got my attention and what made me respect that phone call is the first thing out of his mouth was, "Listen, Terry, let's put our politics behind us. I heard what's going on. I want to do whatever I can to make you and your family safe. So tell me what's going on." which I told him. And then he introduced me to some investigators, and I shared all the information and stuff, and they were very helpful. Looking into the person who was attacking me, which we later found out it was this guy, David Anselek from Will County, who has been order protections and other things against him from these individuals in Will County. Was the same guy that was coming after me. So I was grateful. I was like pleasantly surprised that he put, because I did say some pretty brutal things about him. And he put that behind us to do his job and make sure that he was trying to make sure my family was safe. So I appreciate that. Another thing is that Sheriff Mendrick is a huge supporter of ex-offenders, or actually the currently incarcerated offenders. So what he's trying to do is help them from when they are within his facility, within his jail, right? To put them on the right path. And then actually when they get out, and help reduce the recidivism rate, to help reduce taxes and crime and the cycle that affects family and children. Those of you that watch all the time, I'm an ex-offender from 35 years ago. Changed my life dramatically. Worked for one of the biggest international consulting firms out of Paris, France for over 20 some years. Totally changed my life. And so that's a bond I have between me and Sheriff Mendrick. Forget about the politics, forget about the fighting. That's something I fully endorse and support. So that's another reason I want him on the show, because he helps people like myself, right? It's very hard to change your life and transition from, being incarcerated, being labeled a felon for the rest of your life. Matter of fact, I want to bring up a point that the fake candidate that's supposedly running as a Republican, who's actually a Democrat, is bringing up my past from 35 years ago. I have a wife, family, children. I worked with inmates. I spoke inspirational speaking to guys when they got out. I helped bring jobs through the Federal Bureau of Prisons. I brought 300 jobs back in 2000. So I was an early pioneer of, bringing jobs from within the facility and stuff. So I find it ironic that this fake Republican is trying to brutally attack me and then go after Sheriff Mendrick for just talking to me and trying to tarnish his record because he's associating with me for something I did 35 years ago. So I want to make sure that everybody knows I'm not proud of who I was. I'm proud of who I am, what I've done, all the accomplishments I've done. I've helped contribute towards a book for ex-offenders, and I've done a lot of things. And I find it ironic that a guy that's running for governor, a pretend candidate, talks about how he was arrested 13 times before he was 18 years old. To me, that's a habitual juvenile offender. I was never arrested 13 times in my life, my whole life. I haven't been arrested in 35 years, by the way. So for someone like that to criticize something I did 35 years ago and then try to hurt me and my family, as well as Sheriff Mendrick, who has nothing to do with what I did 35 years ago, and he should be proud of what he's trying to do for the inmates, their families, the taxpayers, I find it appalling. So sorry about the long-windedness here. I just want to let everyone know, never talked about endorsing him, never said I would endorse him. I'm never saying I won't endorse him. If he's the best candidate, I will absolutely endorse him. Put that aside, I still want to help get the message out about helping, inmates and ex-offenders and so forth, right? And we definitely never talked about a pardon. I never talked to anybody in the state of Illinois about a pardon. So that's lies. Those are false lies. Enjoy this discussion with Sheriff Mendrick. Hope he resonates with some of you folks. And thank you for your time.
Thanks, Terry. So, I'd like to say one thing. You never know where you're going to go in your life. So I've always been one of those guys who I've always really griped on how much Republicans fight with each other. I just detest it. I hate it. I go after my Democrat opponents. That's where I think we should be. And yeah, me and Terry had a pretty good fight going on. But when he called me, I do my job that I'm sworn to before anything. You ask me for help as a policeman, you're going to get it. I even tell people that I'll help you even if you don't like me. I mean, that's my job. But also, what I think is the message here is we can't hate each other forever.
Yes.
We can't keep eating each other and expect to win. We can't fight amongst each other and expect to win. We can't have higher polling numbers while we're fighting. we can't let them have all these advantages against us. The Democrats unify and they use these weaknesses that we have to empower them and to win all the elections. That's what they've been doing. They're going to continue to do that until we start to say, I can't hate you forever. Maybe we have some common ground. We obviously believe in the same issues. Maybe we should start working together.
That makes a lot of sense. And again, like your the policies and the approach that you've taken as sheriff, if that's any indication to what you'll do as governor, I mean, I think that's huge, as I think you're on exactly the right path, that offering, previous offenders hope for the future, giving them the tools they need to be successful so they don't fall back into the previous life, whether that's due to drugs, crime, whatever the reason, giving them a clear path forward and options, giving them options on the table, because a lot of people feel like they're trapped. Now, I come from a background of, I ran staffing companies for years and years and years. I started off running day labor pools, so we were dealing with, alcoholics, crackheads, and low-level criminals constantly. And a lot of them get trapped in that lifestyle. They don't think there's other hope, there's other options. Maybe they'd work for us for a little while, get back, get things back a little bit, then something happens, they fall back, and then they go back to what they know. But if you give them the tools they need where that doesn't happen, then they can go on to being productive citizens. And like Terry, like he said, he made a lot of mistakes 35 years ago. He's totally turned his life around now. He kind of got into this political arena, standing up for his kids when he saw what they were being force-fed during COVID, the as he likes to call it, the porn in the schools. But since then, he's done a lot to help Chicago, highlighting the issues with the illegal alien invasion, the crime on the streets, and everything else. And I see a lot of potential in everything that you've told us here tonight. And again, I think you're the best person for the job, especially out of who's currently in the race, considering our other options there. So I'll hand it back to you. What's the best place for our audience to find you? And other than donations, what else do you really need help with your campaign? Guys, if you do want to donate, go to his website. It's there below his name. Mendrick, for the number 4 governor2026.com. Go there, and again, anything will help, even if you can only afford $5, $10, $20. He's going to have a tough fight on his hands just because of the Democrat machine in Chicago and Illinois. So he's going to need whatever help you can give him. And again, Illinois, a lot of us, I think, on the right here have kind of written off certain blue states as just impossible. But I also think now's the opportunity, because people have gotten so sick of this policy from the left, the catch and release, no bail policy, like you discussed, the illegal alien invasion, putting them over the U.S. citizens, that these are all issues that he's going to tackle. And I do think that can turn a blue state purple and then eventually to red. It's going to take, this isn't going to be a one election fight. This is going to be something where we're going to have to stay engaged, keep fighting, keep pushing that message out. But again, I think you're a good first step in that equation, and then I'll leave it to you.
Well, thank you. I'm doing the right thing for the right reason. Like I said, I believe in leadership through servitude. I'm looking for a state to work for. I don't want to be a dictator. I'm not royalty. I'm a cop, a street cop, but I'm also an executive who's done 20 years of executive work and budget work. I understand government. I understand that the city and down south and west, what I noticed, and this is a very salient point, is that many of the challenges of the city of Chicago are equally the same challenges in these small towns that are 4 hours south and 5 hours west. I'm telling you, there's an echo of what's going on in Chicago throughout our whole state. I've been to 42 counties now in this state, and many are dealing with the exact same thing. Sometimes some different. I mean, there's different challenges that the government's doing different things that are, it is a sin to drive through so much agriculture now. Like I said, I've been traveling to over 40 events per month, and to see all the windmills and the solar panels occupying all of our agriculture space, they're costing all this money. Their input versus output is negligible, while we ignore our own fuel sources, our coal, our mines, and everything that we have. We're still importing all these products and spending all this money, but we could cultivate our own and export and save all that money. Yeah. But we have regulations that just say we're going to guard these because we want to poison our earth with big metallic objects and occupy our farms with solar panels that don't give you a return on your investment.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's something I've seen in other states too, especially driving through Indiana, heading up to Chicago for some of these events I've gone to that Terry's organized or other leaders in Chicago have. That you see these just endless wind farms, and how many of them aren't turning, which is always the thing that gets
Yeah.
me. Yeah, or
Me too.
yeah,
You ever see one of those things? Those one blade of that carried on a truck. It's
Oh
like
yeah,
two
yeah, it's on a.
semi-trucks long.
Oh yeah, or more. I've seen them where they're
Yeah.
triple. It's 3 trucks to carry 1 blade or 3 flatbeds. But yeah, and
What-
then when they go
what I'm
down,
saying, I'm the sheriff here. I just want to say, because Terry brought up the other candidate, I want to invite him on behind enemy lines. I want to give him equal time because he's going to ask for it anyway, like he does everybody. So I'm going to invite him on. Mike, me and you will do a special one. If he accepts, he can reach out to Mike. Mike, you can put your information up there where this alleged what does he call himself? The help me out, Sheriff. What does he call himself?
The
Presumptive Republican nominee who
You
is
know,
still
I call
Mighty
registered as an
bold.
independent and as a Democrat.
I call him a self-cleaning oven. Everybody he talks to ends up being a good friend of mine. He's so hateful that I don't need to work against him. He's doing all fine just by himself.
yeah, it certainly seems.
I
that
think
way.
so. I'd love to
Well, I
bring him on the
encourage you
show
to
and
have
let him
him
work. Yeah, I can't wait. I hope he accepts.
Me too. I'll be watching.
Well, I know you've got to run, and thank you for we've already kept you over the time you allotted. So I want to thank you for coming on with us here tonight. Hopefully, we have you back again soon with some good updates on your
Absolutely.
campaign.
Yep.
Because again, I think you're the type of leader that we need in some of these states. Somebody that's been on the ground fighting the real fight for a long time, where you understand the issues in a sense that a lot of these lifelong politicians do not. Now, it's not to say they're all that way, but there's a lot of them that are really out of touch with what's going on at the ground. And you're in the trenches every day. That's the kind of person we need to promote up to a leadership position, somebody that really does understand the problems from the ground up. And then for, some of the probably criticisms that you're going to get, as a governor, you're an executive. So some of these areas where they may be criticizing you on lack of experience or not, knowing like budgeting and all that, I'm sure you're an expert with, given lack of resources that most law enforcement obtains. But, a good executive is somebody too that knows how to delegate out. If they don't know everything about an issue, they're going to reach out to an expert and they're going to get somebody else to do that for them. And they're going to oversee that so it aligns with their overall view. So again, that's what it takes for a real leader, knows when to have other people step in and knows when to delegate responsibilities out. So again, I want to thank you for joining us tonight, and hopefully we see you back here again soon.
Well, thank you. And I'd like to be, here's something new to say, an honest Illinois politician.
Yeah.
I am not a politician. I am an elected official. There's a big difference. And let me help you to make Illinois safe again.
Well, and I got a feeling that you're not going to add to the list of other Illinois governors or Chicago mayors that go from a high executive position to prison.
Yep,
That's probably pretty unlikely.
Nope, not me. I'm clean.
Well, again, I want to thank you for being here tonight. We're going to, I know you've got to run. We're going to go over, Mickey and I are going to cover a few other issues before we wrap up the show for the evening. But once again, thank you for joining us. And then Mickey, if you want to set up our next little thing we're going to get into here, go ahead, because that'll give me a second to get everything else fixed on my end. But once again, thank you, Sheriff Mendrick. And guys, you need to go to Mendrick, the number 4, governor2026.com. Help this man out. Again, this is the kind of person that we need in leadership. So once again, thank you, Sheriff Mendrick, and we'll see you again soon.
Thanks for your hospitality. Appreciate it.
Well, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Take care, guys.
You too. All right, Mickey, if you could go ahead and set us up, because that'll give me a minute to get everything else straightened out over here. Are you able to hear me, Mickey?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. Yeah, if you could kind of set up this next segment for us, that'll give me a second to get everything in order over here.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Do you have some of the slides we set up?
Yeah, that's what I'm working on right now, is getting those full screen and then just correcting a couple other things before we move on there. But yeah, if you could, I've got the, what do I have up queued up first? Sorry, give me 1 second, guys.
So I want to talk about Terry and his cancer. and some of the things that have been said, because that's really bothering me. That kind of struck a chord with me, right? It's something that's going on personal. I've got family members battling cancer. I've got family members that have survived it. I've had it. My wife's had it. And anybody who's going to make fun of that and mock somebody with it has no business claiming to want to be the governor of Illinois. I mean, this is some stuff in. I mean, look what Terry plugs Newsom. Like, the guy sick, he had chemotherapy, your hair falls out. It's hard enough, and this guy's going to make fun of him and mock him? Come on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And, again, Bald Wannabe in this article will have you plugs, haha. I will try to make the event tomorrow and call you out in front of everyone. But this is
he's going to call him out in front of everybody for having cancer. What a son of a bitch this guy is.
Yeah, and then we can go back to some of these earlier messages too, kind of where it started, where it looks like and again, these are texts between Terry and Joe Severino. You and I are fighting publicly. I'm going to cancel anyone that doesn't support me, and there isn't shit they can do about it. Basically threatening him for an endorsement. May come down to Porter and I. You would have to make a decision or not endorse. And again, Terry's saying he's not going to endorse him. It looks like this is it comes down to me and Porter running against each other. I hope you're going to be supporting me. That's the state police that Mendrick said he was sending to my home. I told Rich a while ago if he runs, I'll support him. Supporting him over me, knowing I was right about everything. You aren't real, accusing him of not being real grassroots.
Yeah.
But,
well, hey, this guy, number one, if you read it, he's on Hinge. He's on Hinge. He's off his meds or something. I'm not a doctor, but I just got to assume, it's my opinion, he's off his meds. Nobody goes off on a tangent like he does and makes the kind of threats he does. If they're mentally stable, it's insanity, if you ask me. That's my opinion.
Yeah, and I guess like where I've kind of sat on this whole thing the whole time. Sorry guys, I'm trying to get these up so we can actually read them. It is like mental instability is what this looks like. Whether you're threatening somebody because they won't endorse you, or wanting to go after them for having hair plugs after having cancer. And again, it's normal things like women after breast cancer. A lot of them will get implants afterwards, and we're not talking strip club implants, but they want to feel whole again. They want to feel normal. It's a normal step to take.
Let's vote for this guy. Let's donate money to him. I mean, this is the guy. We got more problems in the world. Let's not add one with this guy.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, especially in a state like Illinois that really needs a lot of help right now, digging them out from this mess the Democrats have created there. And this is the last thing I wanted to bring up here, that presto changeo. Joe Severino is running again for the 10th congressional district seat, but this time he'll be running as a Democrat in the primary against U.S. Rep. Brad Schneider. So in previous races, this guy's run as a Democrat, then it was an independent, then it was a Republican. It was great attending the first Libertyville Township Democrat of Illinois event. This is from his Twitter account. I'm thankful for those that signed my petitions. It was very odd witnessing Matthew Hickey for Libertyville trustee exhibit such radical hatred and prejudice in a public forum toward a fellow Democrat. And that's not all. Actually, I got a video.
But he's the most conservative, most MAGA candidate in the last 50 years, according to him. Did we get you that clip of him on Black Lives Matter, where he said didn't vote because he wouldn't vote for Trump? Do you have that video clip?
I think so. I've got the Never Trumper video. Let me go. I'll run this real quick.
Yeah, that's the one.
Registered a Republican.
No, I didn't vote in the last election because I don't want to vote for Donald Trump, and I certainly wouldn't have voted for Hillary Clinton.
Okay.
That's telling.
The most MAGA candidate. The most MAGA conservative candidate right there with Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, and again, we've got enough rhinos to deal with. We don't need any more. I don't like these, undocumented Democrats. I do think somebody can have like a political change of heart, but this seems to be more opportunism that, especially again, 2 election cycles ago, he ran as a Democrat.
I mean, if you look at Kennedy, look at Tulsi, those people are okay. This guy, he's got political schizophrenia. That's what it is. He's out of his mind.
Yeah, that's a good way to put
You're,
it.
what's that
Well,
movie? The guy who keeps changing personalities. What is it? It started with
Shattered? Is that what it
yes,
was?
yes. That's who he reminds me of. Yeah,
Oh yeah, if you guys
I
want a
can't
really
wait for him to get
creepy,
on his roller skates and get out of here.
yeah. Well, if you guys want a really creepy movie to watch this weekend, yeah, go watch Shattered. That I find those kind of films a lot more scary than most real horror films because it's something you could encounter in real life. But yeah, at the end of the day, you know, I don't. To me, this seems very like opportunistic. That basically he sees right now, you know, Democrats' fortunes are fading. They're down to 19% public approval on a nationwide basis. So hey, why not change your policy and then hitch your star to the Republican wagon for a couple years, and then if that changes or something else happens, then you know, I'll go to the next party or I'll run as an independent again.
Absolutely, and that's wrong. You're doing a disservice to the public. You're doing a disservice to the people you're asking to donate to you, to vote to you. You're lying. You're a liar. That's what he is. You're a liar. Plain and simple.
Yep. Well, is there anything else you want to say to wrap up here? Because that's the end of the.
You know, I just want to end this because I am about 5 minutes away from a sea of attacks from him right now. So I am going to say this: I do look like an orangutan. I'm going to put that in my pocket right there. I'm very orangutanish because he's going to say that. What else is he going to do? I'm a disabled veteran. He's going to tell me I'm stolen valor or whatever else he says because I didn't finish my enlistment. Moron. Um, he's a guy who's surrounded in a sea of crackheads. He's got they're cokeheads, crack addicts. That's who follows him. They sock puppet for him on the internet. It's a clown show. It's a clown show. I'm ready for the attack. Joe, bring him on. I'll see you here. I'm behind enemy lines. Me and you, buddy. Let's do it here. We'll talk on here. We'll see who comes out ahead.
To me, you know, especially after talking to Sheriff Mendrick, he clearly seems like the superior candidate, at least with who's throwing their hat in the ring right now. Again, you know, I think it's early for an endorsement, but you know, if there's not someone else that comes along that seems like a much better option, I would endorse him. Again, I really like the way he's handling these programs with the prison system right now. I think that's the best way to do things. If we want people not to reoffend again, we need to give them the tools they need to either clean up their addiction or clean up their life, and give them the opportunity, the skills they need to become valued members of our community, whether it's job skills in welding, farming, or other industries. I think that's the way to handle it. That again, it's not going to be 100% fixed. There's some people out there that they're going to break the law and they're going to do whatever. It doesn't matter what we do. That's just their mindset. And there's some, you know, unfortunately, some people there's just no fixing that until something happens that forces them where they hit rock bottom. But I do think with a lot of people, you know, there's a certain level of shame if you're going on robbing convenience stores or, you know, on drugs. That there's a certain level of shame, and sometimes, you know, getting an arrest and then an opportunity is what it takes for somebody to turn their life around. I've heard that exact story from a lot of our former employees when I was still doing the day labor staffing down in Florida and throughout Cincinnati and Dayton years and years ago. That there's a lot of people said, you know, getting arrested, going to jail for 3 months, what finally forced them to take a look at their life and then turn things around. They knew they didn't want to make this a career pattern. So a lot of them are, you know, thankful that it happens, as crazy as that might sound to most of us. But again, I think this approach too of striking the problem and also really understanding the problem, like the open borders and what else that leads to, you know, why not cooperating with ICE is a bad thing. So we need somebody in there that's been boots on the ground, that's dealt with the trauma, dealt with the criminal element, and really does want to improve things and help make America great again.
I think he's a great choice so far. I liked everything I saw. I actually interacted with the man on a more personal level, one-on-one, a couple times. Super great guy. Doesn't attack anybody. You saw we gave him a couple opportunities today. He kept himself classy. I myself choose not to sometimes, but I'm not running for governor. But yeah, I love what I see so far.
Well, yeah, and you know, again, having the being able to, you know, be the bigger person, and him and Terry getting back together and do what's best for the state. Understand they both had some fallout, some disagreements politically previously, but be able to both be bigger men, get past that, and do what's best for the state. So, guys, I want to thank all of you for joining us here tonight. Thank you again to Sheriff Mendrick for joining us. Guys, please like, share, and subscribe. Help us to grow so we can bring more people the news the mainstream media doesn't want you to hear, especially if you're there in the Chicago metro area or Illinois. We need to get this message out to more people. But again, thank you for joining us, guys, and we'll be back again.